You can hear me? Okay. Well, good morning. Gus ar dús, fáilte róchig, tábhar curries, fáilte chuig gachinna, cúnda and Sligo. You're all very, very welcome. I want to do a number of things. It may seem a little bit disjointed, but I want to pull them all together afterwards. So first of all, who am I? Well, my name is Ciaran Hayes. Born and reared in Dublin, and I say that for a reason. I say it because as a Dublin lad, grown up in the capital city, I grew up with that capital city mentality. And it's where nothing really exists outside of the capital. You've all come across that. And I say that for a reason which I'll come back to a little bit later. And then I moved from 1986, I moved to Kilkenny, which as a young lad coming from a Dublin GAA family, primarily a hurling family, moving to Kilkenny was paradise really. But I learned an awful lot. It was a little bit like an epiphany, moving outside of Dublin, outside of the capital where everything happened, where you had everything, moving to a rural area in a little place called Muckalee, north of County Kilkenny, and I came across the most wonderful people and a wonderful community. And I had the privilege of being invited back there again just last November, in fact, when they launched their book, 100 Years of a Sporting Parish. And to be welcomed into a community like that, a rural community, I have to say was a privilege and a pleasure. From Kilkenny then I moved further west. I moved to Galway in 1993. And Galway was another cathartic moment. Galway is a crossroads of cultures, magnificent spot, lively spot where you have population. Now at the time it was about 75,000, but you had an influx of 25,000 third level students. So you had a dynamic mix within the city itself. And you had really, really strong communities, different types of communities, the arts committee, the race committee. And before I left, I was heavily involved in the Volvo Ocean Race. Magnificent communities who got involved for the benefit of their own region. And that crossroads of cultures where you had the Irish language, you had the rural community, you had the university, you had GMIT, you also had clean industry. It was a magnificent, eclectic mix. Mixed in with a strong cultural community, and it brought its own dynamism. And they used to say that Galway is the graveyard of the ambitious, and it was recession-proof. And to a large extent, that's true. But there are lessons in that particular journey. And at the end of 2013, start of 2014, I had the privilege and honour to be appointed as Chief Executive here in Sligo. And again, that was another move. So as part of the journey, my own personal journey, it kind of led me to, it informed my own views and my own, I suppose, thoughts in relation to how a local area should progress and should develop. And it was interesting at the time because in Sligo at the time, this was the end of 2013, start of 2014, it wasn't in a particularly good place. The finances were, we were in the middle of the recession. Some parts of the country were just starting. We could see the start of green shoots. But we were in the middle of the recession. We had rural depopulation. We had a lot of financial issues within the council itself. We were in the midst or coming to the end of the great Lissadell court case, you might recall. And the story wasn't good. We weren't holding meetings for other reasons within the borough council. So I suppose the perception of Sligo beyond its borders was not particularly good or positive. So there were a lot of issues there. And I recall clearly at the first meeting that I attended, there was a notice of motion down, actually by our current Cathaoirleach. And it was, in a way, it was a cry for help. It was, the motion was about, it was very well researched and articulated, and it was about the closure of the post offices, the number of post offices that were closing. It was about the Garda stations that were closing. It was about that rural depopulation. And it was, as I say, in the midst of the economic crash. And essentially what we were doing was we were educating our next generations for export. And if you have rural depopulation, you don't have growth, you don't have that development. But the solution that was being proposed, or the request going out from the notice of motion, I didn't necessarily agree with. The solution was that somebody really needs to come down from Dublin, from the government departments or from the government, and point us in the right direction. It was about somebody riding in on that white horse or the stallion and coming up with the solution. That jarred with me. And that goes back to, again, my own personal journey, my own thought process as somebody who grew up with that capital city mentality. That jarred with me. And I said, no. To my mind, we need to do an awful lot of this stuff ourselves. We need to figure out as a community, as a society, where it is we want to go and what journey we want to take. And we need to do as much as we can between the councils and the communities and figure out as much as we can. Again, going back to those strong communities in Galway City, we need to figure out ourselves and do as much as we can. And when we hit a roadblock, then we start knocking on doors in Dublin or elsewhere. And then we start asking for assistance. And that brings me to this particular community here, where we are here today in Tubbercurry. Very, very strong community. A community essentially of doers, where they do just that. They figure out the problems. And when they meet a roadblock, they come and they ask for assistance. And we've been involved in the council, we've been involved with them on many issues. Pride of Place, for example. The Old Fair Day, a really internationally recognised festival that is held every year in August. Really, really good festival. Tourism projects. The development of An Cree Centre just down the road. And now we have where we are today, part of where we are today is the designation of Tubbercurry as a smart community. And then again, there is actually history in Tubbercurry. And it's funny because going back into the last century and so many decades ago, it's here that the whole tradition of tool making started with Basta. And it's interesting because before that tool making tradition was started here in Tubbercurry, there was none. There was no history of tool making. So I'll come back to that in a moment. So where does that leave us now? So let's see if we can draw some of these strands together. And this is my I have a dream moment, except it's not a dream. This is the vision. And this is the vision that Noel spoke about earlier on. And it's a vision where Sligo can position and promote itself as that smart community, or smart city, smart county destination. And we're starting to put those building blocks in place. The first stage to my mind, and I can be as wrong as anybody else, but the first stage to my mind is to prompt a different thinking. And Grow Remote is part of that. But it's to prompt that different thinking, and to my mind that has started, and that's why we're here today. And there are other stages. There are other stages or different building blocks, and they include, for example, in our own case, the council, where we get involved in putting the infrastructure in place, where we're looking to build an infrastructure in Sligo that is 5G ready. And then we have the college, IT Sligo, the Institute of Technology Sligo, soon to be in the coming years, soon to be a technological university. And in any urban centre, in any region, a university or IT is absolutely critical to that region. So the college will be involved in developing the skill sets, developing the courses that produce the necessary competency and skill sets, producing the graduates that will feed the sector, and introducing the appropriate courses. They're also involved, and what I like about the Institutes of Technology is they're also involved in engagement with the industry, and they're flexible. They're possibly more flexible. The universities mightn't like me saying this now, but they're possibly more flexible than the universities in tailoring their particular courses to the needs of industry. And here in Sligo, IT Sligo is involved with the likes of Vallejo, the likes of Jaguar, in the development of sensors that are produced for a worldwide market in the area of autonomous vehicles. So there's a nice mix there, to my mind. And what we will be doing this year is we'll be signing a memorandum of understanding between the council and IT Sligo, where the city can be used as a test bed by the college. So we put the infrastructure in, we make it 5G ready, and the college comes in on the back of it, and their students use the city as a test bed for the development of apps, for the development of the new area now of beacons, the development of sensors, and so on. And there is a symmetry there in all of that. And then there are other organizations, really good organizations operating within the local region, the likes of Sligo Enterprise Company. They're looking to develop a games industry, and again they're looking to tie in with IT Sligo, so that IT Sligo will develop the competency and the graduates that will be able to feed that particular sector. And there's no reason why the IDA then cannot come in on the back of that. Another very, very important player in the region, and they've been very, very successful in attracting FDI, foreign investment, into this region in recent times. Very welcome announcements in the last year, announcements that have really been absent for the last decade or more. But put it like this, if we're in a position to put the infrastructure in place, to have the graduates feeding that sector, then we're in a far better position, or the IDA is in a far better position to be able to advertise, promote and market Sligo as a destination for that type of industry, for that sector. So in other words, the vision, to my mind, is where communities like Tubbercurry, where we are today, can offer their children opportunities in their region where they can be educated to a high standard, where we let them off, let them go on their gap year, let them go and experience industry elsewhere, let them go and experience other continents, other countries, but let them come back, and let them come back to opportunities where they have job prospects, where there are high-end jobs available, and where they're available in Sligo, where they can also avail of the quality of life that is so lacking in other major capital cities, cities like Dublin, where I come from, where they don't have the high cost of housing, they don't have the traffic congestion, where they can scratch the surface in Sligo and hear music of the highest quality in all genres, where they can surf, where they can swim, mountain bike, hike, or take one of the many walks in a county of stunning scenery. It's a county, as we all know, that inspired one of the world's great wordsmiths, that of W.B. Yeats. So in summary, to my mind, Sligo at the moment is at a crossroads, and we're all here today playing our part in the direction that Sligo will take and in the direction that you want your community to take. So Sligo has decided to go the same route essentially as Basta did all those decades ago. It has decided at both a community and a county level to set out on a journey and to position and promote itself as a smart city, a smart county destination. And this conference is part of that journey. Remote working is a part of that overall picture. So you're going to be challenged today, I suppose, in the course of your deliberations. You'll be asked to come further out of your comfort zone so that you can help create and help shape the type of society for the next generation while using and embracing all of the advantages that technology has to offer. And in that, I wish you well in your deliberations today. I once again welcome you to Sligo, and I look forward to that new generation, that new society that we will all hope to create for the next generations. Thank you very much.